Well, it's always nice to be asked to write a play, because so often one writes plays and sends them off to various people and nobody ever wants to do them. So to be asked to do one is really good, and that encourages you. So to have a purpose is good, and as it was last year when we did Lydia's Big Idea. So it got me off to a good start, and I knew that it was really important to Steve. So when he said he wanted to write about that subject, I really had no idea how to start. So I went and had a look at it, first of all, and on my motorbike. I rode around quite a lot. It was winter, it was dreary, miserable. I went to Wheel Martin, as was the museum. I read a lot of books, there's a lot of literature, and I really began to become fascinated by the place, and realised that you had to start. That was the hard part, was wondering where to start, because once you start looking at it, it's huge. I mean, in physical terms, it's huge. In terms of the number of people it employs or employed, it's huge. In terms of the number of people who live there, it's huge. So where do you start? So I narrowed it down to I had this idea of a couple of families and two boys in particular, and one of the boys wants to leave and can't, and the other boy wants to leave and does. And there's some conflict between the boys and their fathers, and that's the story really. The love interest is a girl called Charlotte Dingle, and I've got her living at a village which is now vanished called Carslake. So she lives up there, and both the boys fall in love with her. So that's really what that's the story that the whole play is built around, and that's how it started.
So did you discover, looking through the history, that there were various places that once existed as part of the Chanticleer district that no longer exist now?
Absolutely, that was one of the surprising facts. I mean, Steve told me, I think, quite early on about a chapel or a school, Greensplat, that a relative, grandfather or someone had gone to, that no longer exists. So it's history, and it's as well as the present.
So it's not only looking at the glory years, but it's also paying tribute and remembering the places that might have been forgotten forever had it not been for something like this project.
Yeah, and all the places and the people are commemorated, but then so are some of the companies, because it's in the old days there were dozens of very small companies, all with local names and led by local people, and gradually over the decades they were swallowed up, and they became what is now Imries.
As someone who's written the play yourself, and you see rehearsals are now well underway, what's it like for you to actually step back and see your characters coming to life?
Well, we're working with great people. I mean, Steve is obviously very close to his heart, and I worry a bit for him, because sometimes he gets a bit emotional about it, because in some ways it's his story and the story of his family. And Karen is a Cornish girl, so she's very heavily involved. Helen, the choreographer, is doing some wonderful stuff. It's amazing how close to the heart of the play the dancers have become, and how quickly they pick up some of the ideas which I've just put down as a dance takes place. Okay, and suddenly you've got this wonderful piece of theatre after a couple of days' work, and the same with the music. It's just coming together in a very inspiring way.